Welcome to the Why Coaching Works podcast, where we talk about the impact of coaching, growth of businesses, and personal development. I'm your host, Monty Wyatt. Looking forward to a great show today. If you're a CEO, an executive, a business owner, this is going to be a great show for you. We call our audience the achiever because achievers are always going after new things and more things. And we have an amazing guest with us today. And I want to introduce him by sharing that he is self-appointed the bucket list listologist. And I'm looking forward to talking about that. This is the bucket list guy because he lives what he preaches. He goes on crazy globetrotting adventures. He's contagious. He's hilarious and always fresh. And he is a best-selling author of My Bucket List Blueprint, a TEDx thought leader, certified speaking professional, and is also founder CEO of Bucket List Coaches, and is on a mission to help 10 million bucket listers around the world. This is why Trav is regarded one of the most in-demand motivational speakers. So welcome from Australia, Trav Bell. How are you today, Trav?
Monty, good to catch up, buddy. Yeah, I'm stoked to be on. I love the title of this podcast. It's really cool. Really cuts to the core of why coaching works. Because I certainly believe the title. That's for sure. It definitely has worked for me, and it definitely has worked for all of my clients over the years too.
I love that. Yes, it's a lot of fun talking with successful people like you that have helped so many others break through challenges or break through their mindset belief to go to new heights. And that's really what coaching is about. And we're going to have a good conversation today. I first want to ask, what got you into coaching in the first place?
That's a really good question and a really good place to start. And that's why this conversations I feel is going to be really unique. So I am just turned 50. I've never had a job in my life. I've always worked for myself straight out of uni. I started my first business in third year university, which was in personal fitness training back in the kind of mid 90s, when there wasn't this industry of personal fitness trainers around the world as there is now. So there wasn't even an industry back then. I started with one client, and her name was Heather. Now Heather was a 50-plus-year-old lady. She had arthritis in both of her knees. She had a back injury. She had a neck injury. She could kind of run on a treadmill that more resembled a walk. And safe to say that her self-esteem was like a 2 out of 10 when we first started. She asked me to be her personal trainer, and I cleared it with center management, and I said, "Oh, this lady wants me to be her personal trainer." And they said, "Yeah, cool, no worries." So I charged her a whole $25 an hour. My rate right now, Monty, is not that. It's a little bit different, and $25 an hour, 3 times a week. And because she was my first client at the age of 20 or 21, I just poured into her. Like every coach, when you get your first client, just look after them. It's not hard. That's how you get business. Just look after them, get amazing results. And so I've just come out of my physical education degree, and so I've done rehab, and I just poured all my knowledge into her. And so the initial goal was for her to be pain-free, and get healthy. But there'd be some sessions where she'd turn up, and I'd have all this, like full-on circuit and weights and everything laid out, ready to go. But there'd be some days where she'd turn up and she'd have bruises on her. And her, didn't take a rocket scientist to work out what was going on behind the scenes. Her time with me was time out of what was going on and behind the scenes in her life. I'm 21. I've never been exposed to this sort of stuff before. So probably the most impactful coaching sessions that I've ever had were those ones right in the early days, where I'd have all this circuit laid out, and you could see she's had a rough night. Her partner, her husband at the time, wasn't a nice bloke, and as a result, her self-confidence was really low. So some days I'd just go, you know what, see the warning signs and go, you know what, we can do that later in the week.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing coffee today. And right then and there, I realized that I love doing this. I love helping people. And sometimes you got to have that emotional flexibility to throw out the rule book and just go with intuition. So here I am at the age of 21, dealing with domestic abuse. And so we kept training. She got rid of all of injuries, got rid of the arthritis. Personal training session where we have holes in the bottom of the bucket, and she'd be in the kids' pool. She couldn't swim. And putting, like creating a shower for herself, like you do with a 5-year-old kid,
Mm-hmm.
to doing a 1.2 kilometer open water swim, to running a full marathon, and then I remember a session where we went to the bike shop and we bought her a bike, and I taught her how to put the helmet on the right way and balance in traffic and all that. So her next goal was to do her first triathlon. So that was years in the making, mind you. She, interestingly enough, she referred everyone in the English speaking language to me and then some. She left me for a while. Her self-confidence, she left me as a trainer because she had this newfound confidence. Her self-confidence just went up and up. She left her husband as a result. Now, it wasn't personal training. It wasn't like that, but she had the self-confidence. She joined Yarra Triathlete Squad. She did her first triathlon. That was a goal of ours, hers. She met a bloke who's a triathlete who she trained with, and I gave a speech at her wedding on her behalf.
That is awesome.
No one knew at her wedding. No one knew this, the story, and her kids were there, and not a dry eye in the house, mate. From there, that's why I love coaching. That's what I always come back to. That's always been my why. And, helping others along with health and family and fun, adventure, it's in the top 5, 6 values. And, we were talking off camera before COVID. I felt like my wings were clipped, so I couldn't go out there and help people en masse as a speaker. I just dove into the online world and just did a lot of these sort of things and virtual presentations and that sort of thing. Because if I'm not feeling fulfilled if I'm not helping people en masse. So Heather referred everyone in the English speaking language to my business. I got up to 63 1-hour mobile personal training sessions in a week. That was my record. Held that for about 3 years, then started getting and I was one of the first personal training studios in Melbourne, in Australia, centralized everything. And then a year later, that was all well and good. And then I read this damn book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. I don't know if you've heard of it, mate.
Yep.
And he was talking about this thing called franchising and systems, and it destroyed me in a good way. And, I was around, some of the early texts around that time. And a year later, when one of my head trainers, I had 13 personal trainers working for me at that stage in that first studio. And then one of the trainers said, I wouldn't mind doing one of these. And then a year later, we franchised. And I was the first to franchise personal training studios in Australia. And then we built a chain of them around Australia.
That is fantastic. What was the time frame?
So that was and then from there, then I defranchised the whole thing. So that's a whole other story.
How long did that take you from your first client to franchising?
That's probably 5 years, to be honest. I had to work out the model first, get it profitable, get it all dialed in. And I'm a systems freak, so I was right in amongst franchise. And the reason I franchised it, mate, because someone said, you can't franchise that.
Huh.
And I went, that's all I need. Thank you. Thank you, Tony Robbins of motivation. Basically, watch this. And funnily enough, he was right at the end. So no, we had a chain of them. The model was a owner operator manager. So it wasn't a totally hands-off kind of investment, but it was about 4 to 8 trainers within a 200 or 150 to 200 square meter studio, all fitted out. off they went. So all about helping them leverage and create a business for themselves that doesn't require them getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning every morning. So that was the whole thing. So yeah, it took me 20 years, and that was my whole identity. Personal training was my whole identity. Very well known in that industry as one of the pioneers, and kind of wrote the rule book here in Australia. But I was done after 20 years.
Oh, I can imagine. Oh, wow. That's a great success story. I love hearing that. So I want to know, how did you become the bucket list guy, and what was your passion behind that? And
Funny you should mention.
What is a bucket list?
So a bucket list, in short, is a tangible life plan where your career plan or your business plan should fit into your life plan, not be the other way around. Why you're so good, Monty, is because you're amazing at systemizing and optimizing the vehicle, of helping them business. I'm sure we all do life coaching to a certain extent, even though we don't like to call it life coaching, but business coaching 101 is about optimizing that vehicle to make sure it runs without you, and that vehicle, when optimized, should produce two things and two things only. And that is cash flow and time flow, to allow the owner to go and do their bucket list. That's it. So at the end of the day, I guess I'm the why guy, and that's why I love, partnering with, guys like yourself. Is you're really good at the mechanical, putting all this stuff together, making sure that people get to optimize their vehicle as soon as possible, so they can have a freer life to go and do their bucket list. And bucket list, as I said, is a tangible life plan. And a lot of people get into business and go, yeah, I want, I think personally, I think the holy grail is having this vehicle that spits out the time flow and the cash flow. But double bonus, if you actually love what you do and it's hitting your values, which is like your internal rule book, and it's ticking that box, that's like the holy grail. You love what you do and it's giving them what you need. So, and a lot of people out there can't say that, what is in America, like 90% of people, what they call disengaged.
Mm-hmm.
That's a stat. That's the scariest stat ever. 90% of people who go to work every single day in America, in corporate America, are just not into what they're doing.
Yep.
Wow, they're getting the check coming home. So get your own business. But mate, I guess the bucket list, having done the book and the TED Talk and all that sort of thing, it's a miracle. Being a serial entrepreneur myself, I've been the bucket list guy for over 12 years now. I've been on that, like I say to other speakers, coaches, authors, and I coach a lot of them who want to kind of do what I've done and put themselves out there in the world and share their story and their wisdom, pick a highway, then pick a lane, then own the lane. So I've been on that lane as the bucket list guy for 12 years, which I'm a squirrel. And that's a freaking miracle. So I'm more in love. I'm more in love with, that inch wide, mile deep that I've created than ever before, rather than an inch deep and a mile wide. And a lot of people get business wrong by going too wide and not going deep. So yeah, long story short, coming out of personal training, so that I defranchised the whole business because I went through a bout of depression, albeit mild compared to what I've heard since, So they wanted to prescribe like heavy antidepressants, and I knew a lot of people were on those, and they were just kind of like sleepwalking through their life, no highs or lows of emotion. I'm like, nah, I wanted to get to the root cause of what I was going through. Why did I go through it? Is there was some legal blues going on, there was some stuff going on in my life. It was just a perfect storm. And the whole franchise thing was, there was some real cancerous people that I let into the network, and it became a case of the tail wagging the dog, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
You know what I mean by that too, right? And it just did my head in. And I'm like, I started to just, not wanting to pick up the phone, not wanting to answer emails, just going, oh, here we go again. I just, over the year, 2 years there at the end, I just fell out of love with it. I love the end product of personal training, actually coaching people and helping, but I built this kind of monster that just wasn't, I was too immature for it. I'll say that. I'll say that with all confidence that I think I was too immature to franchise, and we're complying with the franchising code of conduct and all that sort of stuff over here in Australia. And as you know, that's legal.
Yes. Yep.
A lawyer's wet dream. And I just went, you know what, I'm kind of done. And around that time, it's probably 15 years ago, old mate Tim Ferriss came out with his 4-Hour Workweek book.
Mm-hmm.
So here I was holding all these commercial leases around Australia with gyms, and sometimes some of them were in my name, some not, just going through shit, and just felt the burden of this business that I'd created. You know, the ladder of success was up the wrong wall, people say, but I built the bloody thing. So I just went, you know what? Here I am, all these, and here's Tim Ferriss running everything from a fucking hammock in Thailand, you know, and I'm like, I like that business model. So, you know, the online world was starting. I hadn't traveled. I haven't really, you know, explored and done the things that I wanted because I was so busy being this business guy. So as a result, I got really interested. I've had lunch with Tim Ferriss since. Yeah, this whole online world, that for me, it just resonated so much. And in the throes of trying to work out what the hell I was going through with the mental health side of things, I went to the seminars, walked on fire, went ayahuasca, you know, Burning Man, you know, trying to find myself, went this
Absolutely.
quest that we've all been there. But really what resonated with me the most was positive psychology. And I was in one of these seminars, probably 2 years into that journey, and a friend of mine was sitting in the front seats, and I was at these seminars all the time, invested a heap of money. And a friend of mine said, Trav, you're in these seminars all the time. Why don't you teach this shit? It literally said that. Why don't you teach this shit stuff? And it was just like, God damn, that's why I'm here. That's what, okay. So ping, light bulb moment. About a month later, and I was so scared to do, I nearly had to pay 40 people to come to my first talk. I put on a public talk. I was so scared, and I packaged all the NLP stuff, all the stuff that I've been learning from and had them there. About halfway through, I started sharing the fact, this is about 12 years ago, started sharing the fact that I had a to-do list before I die, you know, written down since I was 18. And not many people knew I had this. And I started sharing. I said, okay, group, who else has got one of these lists written down? Like, no one. Donuts. I went, why the hell do you get up in the morning? You know, what do you want to earn more money? You know, what is it? What's your compass? What's your true north? And that's what it was always for me, even through depression and stuff, and still is. The common response that I get from people when it comes to goals is, I say, what are your goals? And I'll say, all right, well, pay off the house, put the kids through school, do a bit of travel when I'm older. Fucking hell, is that it? Yep. And I'll get that still today. And then at the end, Joe, one of the participants, said, oh, how's all this list to do before you die stuff? It's like a bucket list. You're like the bucket list guy. I went, light bulb moment, went home and at that night and registered the bucketlistguy.com, because I knew also that Trav Bell, you know, global audience online, I wouldn't be on this podcast if I was just Trav Bell. You know, I wouldn't be invited to speak all around the world if I was just Trav Bell. Maybe that's a limiting belief. But the bucket list guys certainly helped me elevate that or get more attention. So I registered that. I lead with that. And I was on the Google machine at the time going, oh, who's like the Mac Daddy? Who's like the king of bucket lists in the world? Oh, look, no one. So I literally called myself the world's #1. That's right. The world's #1 bucket list expert. So it's on a book, mate. So it must be true.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. It's real. It's real.
All your entrepreneurs on this Why Coaching Works podcast, mate, you've got, you know, you guys understand, the achievers understand that you got to claim your space before someone else does, you know. And this was a case of throwing yourself. It made me put on this whole, you know, bigger persona than I was shit scared, you know, bigger persona, big shoes to fill kind of thing. And I call it a unique superhero brand name. And I love helping people do that for themselves. But it made me step up. It still makes me step up into a persona. Unfortunately, whenever you meet the bucket list guy and me, we're kind of the same. unfortunately. So I'm the same dickhead. But no, I've been doing that ever since. So over the course of a few more years, I defranchised the whole business. I sold off the studio. I owned 3 studios with managers and teams. I sold those off. I couldn't get out of them fast enough. And then, basically went online from there. And whilst I was selling those off, I was doing more and more and more speaking and coaching.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. You know, there's so many different types of coaches in the world, and you said it right. Claim your space. Claim your space. What is your expert area? What are you going to have fun with? What are you going to just blow up and make it something amazing? And the bucket list is just something unique because it causes people to go, what is that? And how do I do that? I think that's fantastic.
And the cool thing is, and as you know, Monty, you want to make an impact. You want to leave a legacy. You want to help more people than you can. And like now I can't help myself. I've got to go. I've had to go down the licensing route again. And now we've got certified bucket list coaches around the world all teaching my stuff. So I've carved out, some chunky IP, put that into programs. And now as a result, those certified bucket list coaches go out and teach that stuff from kids in schools to corporates. It's all group coaching. So we can really affect the brand, affect more lives rather than just a one-on-one kind of model. And I still do on the other side as the bucket list guy, I still do the hands-on, the nitty-gritty, coaching. I don't say life coaching because, you go out there and say, oh, I'm a life coach. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, okay, tree hugger, but so you got to be, whatever you do, don't go. And I tell my coaches this, that, whatever you do, don't go into a corporate and say, hey, I'm a life coach. They'll be, all right, good on you. Next. So you got to, you're right. You got to spin it another way. But, we've got the unique, trademark, registered trademark copyright to certified bucket list coach around the world. That is our, unique take on it. And really what it is, what we teach, what we coach, what I coach is really just positive psychology, which is how to help people have more meaning, more purpose, more fulfillment, more gratitude in their life and go into their strengths and just bleeding more of that into their work and into their life. And all I've done is put this bucket list brand over the top of it to make it more palatable, make it more user-friendly, more fun.
I was just about to ask you how you would define coaching, and I think you just did. It's positive psychology.
That's it.
And it's getting people to see things different, get their mindset right, get their focus right, no matter what kind of coaching, whether it's financial, fitness, it's life, it's business, everything.
Yeah. And that positive psych is obviously different to normal psychology, normal regressive psychology, where you go back into the timeline of the person's life, childhood, past relationships or whatever. And then psychologists, psychiatrists use therapy or drugs to help a person become normal again. All right. So they're a functioning member of society, that they don't go out and be a serial killer. I'm being facetious, but I'm, so the people that you hang with and that we attract are performers. They don't want to be normal. They're freaks, so our clients want to go to the next level. So they don't want to be normal. So as a result, bleeding more of this positive psyche in, aligning, getting clear on whatever that vision is that they've got for themselves is very individual. And then basically seeing where they're at now, where they want to go, and then helping, you're coaching the gap. Simple.
Absolutely.
You're coaching the gap. Because I look at it like this, right? Is here is where I am right now. And you know this from business. Here's where I am right now. I'm a 5 out of 10 compared to my version of 10 out of 10, right? My 10 out of 10 is very different to yours, mine, et cetera, et cetera. You got to, and you got to recalibrate on what that 10 looks like every now and again, maybe every quarter, every year or whatever. And doing it by yourself, this is like probably the best analogy I can give for coaching. Doing it by yourself looks like this. There's the gap. 5, 10 out of 10. There's 1 down here. Doing it by yourself looks like this. Boom, years. Getting a coach helps you do this. Boom. But getting a coach also helps you do this.
Yes.
Note the visual kids, boom. That's it. Most people are like, all right, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because that's painful. That's self-sabotaging. That's like, you know, I've got lots of money and then somehow it slipped through my fingers. Oh shit, that's too little money. And then, it's like the coach just levels that shit out. And that's why I've always, and still do, invest heavily in coaching. If you're going to be a coach, you've got to have your own coaches, and it's as simple as that. The best athletes in the world, and you can see them all in the background of yours, your room there. And, these professional athletes, they're showing us the way. They've got teams of coaches for different little areas. And I've certainly got that going on in my life too.
So what's the biggest thing that you've learned from one of your coaches that you've had?
Oh, God. I'm always getting, for every level, what is it? New level, new devil. I love that statement, right? New level, new devil. And I don't even have to explain that.
Yes, I love that.
So every, new project or breakthrough or whatever, there's always a new problem. And so, I get coaches for a season or I get them for a year, whatever, to bust through to that new level, to get through that ceiling. And as a result, probably the biggest one that I've personally is actually around money, and now it is for a lot of other people, is just understanding the value I bring to the world and to people as well. And basically, charging what I'm worth. And so that's been an ongoing thing for a long time. And I just want to help people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trav, but you're helping a lot of people, and you might as well go thebucketlistguy.org, mate, because you're a fucking charity. So it's got .com at the end, not .org. So, quit trying to save the planet and put some money in the bank, and then you can help more people. It's like, fuck, really? So at the end of the day, it's standing in that value, saying your figure, being okay with it. And actually I'm at a level now where if someone doesn't, agree to whatever I charge, both in a speech and a coaching program and a group coaching program, I just go, well, you're not ready yet. I honestly believe that you're not at my level yet. And let's give them some stuff for free so you can get up to that level one day.
I love that. They're not ready yet. That's a good point. They're not ready.
No, they're not ready yet. And I've been really, like, it's funny, you've been there, done that, mate. So I'm speaking to the converted, and, I've done the cheapies, and I've done the, discounts for clients, and I've done this and I've done that. And I've had a lot of people going through my systems, and now it's a quality versus quantity game. We've got our bucket list coaches. I quadrupled coming out of COVID. I quadrupled what we charge for that license. I've quadrupled my speaker fee. Mm-hmm. I doubled my coaching fee. Not just this 10%. One of the good books I'm reading at the moment, 10x is easier than 2x.
Yep.
By Dan Sullivan.
Yep.
And old mate, psychologist. Can't remember his name. Apologies. It'll come to me. But is making those 10x kind of moves rather than these incremental, 80% versus 20% steps. So it's all quality, isn't it? It's all quality, working out what your avatar is, what's your perfect client, and, less is more.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I've got a couple more questions. What tips would you give someone who's considering being coached? What suggestions or tips would you have to someone that's considering being coached, whether it's in fitness or it's in personal
look,
life or business.
Look, coaches bring two things to the table that you cannot do yourself. End of story, right? They bring accountability and they bring objectivity, right? You're so in your life that you rarely see, you really work on your life. And even if it's for an hour a week or half an hour a week, or whenever you do the touch point with your coach, you've got to get outside of, you've got to work on versus in.
Yeah.
And you need someone kicking your ass. Mate, I did over 2 million personal training sessions back in the day. 300 odd personal trainers working under that brand. Even now, speaking on 6 of the 7 continents with bucket list coaches and that sort of thing, that might be a sign that coaching kind of works. Because look at it, like, you'd have to be an absolute idiot living under a rock or in a cave if you don't know how to get fit and tone up and lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, with the amount of information, it's like, move more than you eat and don't eat shit food and do it all consistently. So do it. But why don't people do it? Why do you need a personal trainer? Like, even with bucket list is like, go write a list and go do it. That was a limiting belief that I had for ages, is like, why do people even need me? When they could just write a list like I do and then just go do it.
I love that.
Interesting.
I love that.
The information's all out there, but we live in a world now, there's too much information, and that actually causes anxiety. Not depression, but anxiety. There's just too much info. So a coach's job is also to become a filter of the right information for what you need at that point in time. The right tool. Here's the right tool. No, fuck all the rest of it. Just do this. Our job as coaches is to not have our clients be a squirrel and next bright shiny object. Is like, dude, just do this 1, 2, 3 things. Oh, what else is there, coach? No, nothing. Oh, what about this? And old mate up the road, he's doing this and he's doing, fuck him. You're doing this.
Yep. I want to reinforce to our
Right?
audience, the achiever. You just said coaches bring, I'm going to say 3.
I don't know if I can swear on this, but I just did.
You just did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Coaches bring
like
3
I said,
things: accountability, objectivity, and a filter of 100%. Information. So I just love that.
You got to channel it.
You got to
yeah. And that's why, like clients, as you know, have ups and downs. They do this even in your presence. Your job as a coach, I believe our job as a coach, is to really remind them and get them crystal clear on their vision, and remind them on their vision more often than they would ever do themselves. So remember we started this journey and we're doing it for this reason.
Yeah.
Because you want to, spend more time with your kids. You want to create this, give money away. You want to, solve this problem, this bigger world problem, whatever it is. Remember why we're doing this. And I think we've also got to help clients become like uber productive. Do more with less.
Yep.
So we've all got 168 hours in a week, and you are so busy. All right, well, Elon Musk has got 168 hours in a week as well. He's the richest bloke in the world, CEO of 3 billion-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar companies. Seems to put it all together. I don't know how well, but he's going all right. And you reckon you're busy now? So it's just, we've got to tool them up. We've got to get smarter. And sometimes it's actually not the mechanics of the business, but it is time management when you start off with clients. It's like, give me a look at your week. And I get clients to do this all the time, and you probably do too, mate. Just give me a look at your week, and they give me a week to review. And that's like a crystal ball into how well or how shit their life is going to go, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, no wonder your marriage is breaking down. Where's your date night?
Yeah.
No wonder your kids hate you, because where's the quality time?
Yep.
Where's the one-on-one time? No wonder you're fat, because
Not
I
on the
don't see it.
calendar.
Where's your habits? You get, I even with business guys, I do more of the life coaching. We can maybe have a talk about this offline, mate. I do more of the life coaching rather than the business stuff. You know, I get a lot of people that are fat and happy, mate, you know, who have got success and they could self-implode if they don't do something else. A lot of it's about time management. It's about week management. It's about looking at other areas of their life and for them to redefine, because I'm not a big fan of people saying work-life balance.
Right.
And
I agree.
Work-life balance, nothing ever balances. It's a bullshit 80s term that we threw around in corporate to make us all feel better. I believe in work-life blend. And we're all defining that for ourselves right now, especially coming out of COVID with this hybrid kind of work environment that we work in now. So with that in mind, let's define your week 2 of you work-life blend. What does that actually look like in a year's time versus what it is now? But that's a crystal ball into your future. No wonder you're not getting the results in the different areas of your life. What do you want it to look like in due course? And then let's go get it, not in a year's time, but as soon as possible.
You know,
and sometimes those little tweaks make a huge difference.
Absolutely right. It is the small changes that make the big impact. And that's what it takes. You know, we've talked a lot about why coaching works, and I want to summarize it in your words. Why coaching works: it's accountability, objectivity, and filter. I just love that. That is why coaching works right there. It's that simple.
Yeah. And if you're if you're a client, you're listening to this right now, or you're potential looking at a coach and why coaching works. It works because you are so in the trees, you don't see the forest. And it's, to be honest, I want to call it out. It's pretty arrogant if you think you know everything.
Yes.
So if you're like, you know, and you love these clients, right? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. All right. If you know so well, where's the proof?
Yep.
No, I'm getting around to it. All right. Well, you don't know. Knowing is doing.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Trav,
don't even get me started on that one.
Oh, Trav, I really appreciate the conversation. I loved hearing your stories. I love hearing the impact that you've had on people, because it is about living. And that's what you're helping people do, is truly live. So if somebody wants to learn more about the bucket list guy, where should they go find you?
Yeah. Straight up, yeah, www.thebucketlistguy.com. Yeah, you can go there, inquire there. And the same on the socials. If you can't find thebucketlistguy.com on the socials, then someone's probably going to get the sack today. My social media people are on the way out.
Absolutely
if I'm not showing up.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I just want to, for our achievers out there, I want to give a couple points. You've heard us talk about why coaching works, but coaching is positive psychology. I loved how you put it. It's cash flow and time flow is what you focus on. And I think that's a powerful thing that all of us really need to think about. How are we generating cash, but how are we generating time? And how are we blending the two to make sure that we're enjoying life? And, you know, I've got a bucket list as well. And it's a lot of sporting events on there, a lot of travel, and it's time to start doing. It's not time to talk. It's time to start doing, right?
Yeah. It's time to book that in, mate. Let's go. What's next? What's next?
What's next is New York City. I'm going to taking my kids to New York City. So that's been cool. On the list for a while. I've been once, but it was a very quick trip, but never been with my children. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's how old are your kids?
23, 20, and 17.
So that is actually on my bucket list as well, to take my 2 twin boys, who are now 16 going on 17, to New York City as well. They're fascinated with the build. Now, a little bit more from Australia.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. So, yeah, I might have to sell a house or something. But at the end of the day, yeah, that's actually on my list, mate.
I love it.
Awesome.
I love it. Well, Trav, thanks for joining us, and appreciate our audience joining us today as well. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, and get more insight on how to help make sure that coaching works for you. So thanks again. Look forward to seeing you on the next show.